Hello, everybody. Adam Bergman here, tax attorney and founder of IRA Financial. This is the first episode of the Self-Directed IRA Tip of the week. I like to call it the story of the week. And the theme of this video, and hopefully I'm going to do them every week, but I may kind of pop in and pop out randomly. Some weeks it may be a Monday, others a Tuesday or a Thursday. What I want to do is I want to cover an interesting story, client fact pattern of the week, and then talk about kind of the facts, how either me or someone on my team addressed the situation with the client, and what we ended up deciding was the most tax efficient or the best course of action for the self-directed IRA client. So I got a lot of, let's say, support or direction that, hey, people want to hear what other clients are going through, some of the questions they have. Yes, I do an ad mail episode, a podcast each week that goes through three of the, I think, most interesting questions of the week. But what I heard from a lot of you is, hey, can you give us more of a detail on a particular fact pattern? So not necessarily a question, but more of a client structure, and talk about kind of how you were able to help the client design a tax efficient solution for making the investment. So said, hey, that's going to be fun. I'm going to keep these videos relatively short. I don't think I need more than 10, 15 minutes to do them. The first part, we'll just go through the fact pattern, and I'll obviously summarize. I won't use any names, so there's no issue of violating any confidentiality. Just going to talk about the fact pattern and then talk about some of the items the client in this particular case considered, and then obviously discuss the solution and how this could potentially help you, or at least give you an idea going forward. So let's do it. First, the fact pattern. So we have a husband and wife, and again, these are all true stories based off conversations I had with clients. So this was a conversation I had, I don't know, last week or so. This client has, it's a husband and wife. The husband has an inherited IRA from a non-spouse, a couple $100,000. He also had a regular IRA, about $30,000, and he had a Roth IRA, pretty small. Okay, and the spouse, his wife, had two rollover IRAs pre-tax. Okay, so all in all, they had around $400 to $450. Okay, including the inherited, all the traditionals, and the Roth, around $450K. They wanted to buy a piece of real estate that they were going to flip for approximately around $900. So they had about half the money, and then they were going to flip the real estate, and they were telling me that they had the potential to make like 30% on the money. The property was in Utah and at a ski resort, and they just really thought this was an off-market deal, that this was a guaranteed like home run. They basically had a buyer in their pocket. They just needed to get this deal done. Okay, so they called us up, and I actually spoke to them. I don't have the pleasure of speaking to all our clients, but on occasion I do, which this was one of the occasions, and it was a lot of fun. So here's the situation, right? You got about $450K, about half of it's in an inherited IRA, which we'll see how that poses an issue. And they had a small Roth, and they needed to borrow about half the money. They had about half equity. Also, the husband and wife were both self-employed. Okay, they have their own separate businesses. So that was an interesting fact. So what did I suggest? So the first thing I do when I look at a fact pattern like this is say, okay, you want to buy real estate, you need a loan, and you're self-employed. First thing I'm thinking about is, okay, I'm going to try to get you in a solo 401k. Why? Is because under the solo 401k rules, under section 514C9, you can use a loan to buy real estate or leverage to buy real estate without triggering a tax known as the unrelated business taxable income, which is a 37% tax on the net income associated with the leverage. Okay, so if you borrowed $450K and put in $450K, That's 50-50 debt to equity. And if you have $50,000 in net profits after deductions, depreciation, and the like, $25,000 would be subject to the UBIT tax, which would be as high as 37%. So it's quite a nasty tax. So the first thing I'm thinking is, okay, I need to get them in the solo K. Okay. The second thing I'm thinking is, oh, I got some problems. Number one, an inherited IRA cannot be rolled into a 401k. An inherited IRA must stay in the inherited IRA world. So right away, I'm like, you have about 450, but half of it needs to kind of stay in the IRA. Okay. And then you also have a Roth. And a Roth can't be rolled into a 401k. It has to stay in the Roth IRA world. So out of the 450, it's like close to 300 must stay in the IRA world. Okay, so I'm like, okay, the solo K could be an option. Let's discuss it. But for 300 of the 450, it's not going to help. It will help for the 150 and shelter that income from UBIT tax, which is good. But the 350, not going to work. So the next thing I'm thinking about is, okay, how do I reduce the UBIT? Remember, unrelated business income tax, it's triggered when you use a loan. And when an IRA or 401k borrows money, it always has to be a non-recourse loan. Why? Because 4975C2 does not allow an IRA or an disqualified person, the IRA owner, to extend credit, right? You can't personally guarantee a note because in essence, you're extending credit to your IRA or vice versa. So that's why the loan must be non-recourse. And a non-recourse loan is a loan you do not personally guarantee. So meaning the lender's only recourse is to take the underlying asset, the real estate, but they can't go after you personally because it's not a non-recourse loan. It's not a recourse loan, it's non-recourse, meaning all they can do is take the underlying asset, the real estate, and they can't go after you personally. After 2008, 2009 financial crisis, most mortgages, residential are recourse, okay? Most commercials are recourse even, although the large ones, if you have a big fund or a big real estate company, you can get away with non-recourse. But for a lot of us, we're still gonna have to deal with recourse because the game rules change after 2008. Banks didn't want to take any more risks. They saw the consequences of being over leveraged and not having enough equity in these assets. So they really push for a recourse notes. But we have relationships with many non-recourse lenders where we can help you get a non-recourse loan. Generally, you need to put down at least 35 to 40%, and you're going to pay a bit of a higher interest. Now, for these clients at issue, a husband and wife, they weren't that concerned about the rate because this was going to be a quick flip. They were going to buy the property and then literally flip it within months. Okay, so their big concern was UBIT. Obviously, before they called us, they had no idea what UBIT was. In fact, they spoke to another IRA company who didn't even mention UBIT, didn't even mention the solo K. They just basically said, oh, we're just going to set you up with a self-directed IRA and here are the fees and good luck. And again, I think that's the most important part of why clients choose us, IRA Financial. And we got over 20,000 accounts, almost $3 billion in assets in a very short amount of time, around 7 years. Why? Because we don't just set up these accounts. We're going to help you design solutions, customize solutions, tax efficient solutions. We're not just going to set up, but we're also going to admin, tax report, whether it's the 990T to report UBIT, partnership returns, 1065s, 1099s, 5498s, conversions, contributions, distributions, prohibited transactions, UBIT. We'll get it all covered, and we'll help you not only report it, but we'll also record keep it, admin it, and give you the consulting service that you need and deserve. So what did we decide? Okay, again, so we have an inherited IRA and a Roth IRA that cannot be rolled into a solo K. We have two individuals that have a self-employment business, so I can set up a solo K, but it's only going to shelter about 150 out of the 450, so that percentage from UBIT tax, because inherited IRAs and the Roths must stay in the Roth world. So this is what I designed. I said, okay, we're going to have the inherited IRA and the Roth IRA invest through a C Corp. And the C Corp, known as a blocker corp, will reduce the 37% UBIT tax to 21%. So I'm going to have the inherited IRA and the Roth invest in a C Corp. Okay. And the C Corp is going to own an LLC. And then the two solo 401ks are going to own the LLC as well. So in this LLC, there's going to be $450,000 of cash, $250 and around 300K will come through the C Corp as a blocker, right? Because the Roth IRA cannot go into the solo K, neither can the inherited IRA. The 150 will come through the solo Ks, which will be blocked from UBIT under 514C9. The LLC, which is going to be owned by the Corp. So that you have an LLC, you have the LLC, you have a C Corp, and then you have the Roth inherited and the two solos up here. And what's going to happen is the corporation is going to acquire a note, a non-recourse loan, say for $450. It's going to take the $900K. It's going to buy the property. And let's say in 3 months, it's going to flip it for $1.3 million. So there'll be $400,000 of gain. Okay. If you look at the percentages, we know, let's say half of that potentially could be subject to UBIT. Okay. So out of that half, around 35% will be exempt because that's the 150 out of the 450. That is coming through a solo K, and solo K the income will be exempted from the UBIT tax because of the use of the exception under 514C9 for non-recourse leverage. So now I'm only dealing with 65%. So what I was able to do, instead of paying 37% on the 65% of the gains, I reduced it down to 21%. I'll use the C Corp blocker. I won't eliminate the UBIT tax, but I'll reduce it to 21%, which is manageable. It's kind of like long-term capital gains rate for a high-income earner. I'll use a Delaware Corp. There's no state tax. I paid 21% to the IRS. I'll dividend the rest tax-free to the IRAs. And now, basically, I was able to use an inherited IRA, a Roth IRA, the other IRAs, and basically was able to reduce the potential UBIT tax of 37% on the 400K of, if you look at 400K of profits, 200K is allocated to the debt, right? 50-50 based off the example, right? They use 450 cash, 450 debt. So let's say there's 400,000 of profit. 200,000 would be the maximum UBIT number. 37% on 200K is real money, right? So let's looking at say $70,000 or so. I was able to reduce that. So out of the 200, about 35% would be exempt. So now I'm, let's say about 160. And what I would do on that 160, instead of paying 37%, they're going to pay 21%, which is, approximately, 30, let's say 30K. So instead of paying up over 70K in taxes to the IRS, I was able to reduce it to about 20K. Okay. And the cost of structure obviously is super minimal. The only additional cost they would have is the C Corp, which is a state filing fee, a couple $100. That's it. And they saved, in this case, around 30,000 or so, could be even a little bit more in taxes, just for structuring, right? So that's the purpose of the video, of the tip of the week, the story of the week, is give people ideas that say, hey, just a little bit of structuring. Using solo Ks and a C Corp blocker, instead of just dumping everything into an IRA and being subject to 37% on the UBIT, I was able to save the client $35,000 in tax just for having a little bit of thought, a little bit of wisdom that went into the process. So it matters what company you choose. Yes, I'm super subjective. I know and I truly believe that IRA Financial is the best company in the space without question. Why? Because I founded it, and my whole team, we train every week, whether it's going back and reviewing UBIT, prohibited transactions, rollover rules, contribution rules, distribution rules, inherited IRAs, Roths. Like, we do it every week. And if anything pops up, if there's new treasury regulations, new legislation, new tax court, we're on it, okay, before anyone. In fact, my competitors generally call me up for questions. That's true. So I would put my knowledge in self-directed IRAs against anyone in the country. There's other lawyers out there, but they don't have my pedigree. They don't have the fact that I've written 8 books. I've worked with some of the largest law firms in the world. I have a master's in tax law. I put my pedigree up with that against anyone. This is all I do. This is all I care about. And it matters. Look, I was able to save the client at least $35,000 for a 5-minute conversation. So that's what I want to do and get across in these videos each week. Subscribe to the channel because you'll get notifications when I go live. Sometimes it could be a Monday, other weeks, if it just maybe a random Wednesday or Friday, something pops up, if I speak to a client or hear some feedback from a team member, and I'm like, oh my God, that's just a really good story. Let's do it. And I'll just hop on and talk about it. So all in all, the interesting part of this fact pattern is we got to talk about inherited IRAs and Roths, which need to stay in the IRA world and Roth IRA world. And we got to talk about how a blocker C Corp can reduce UBIT from 37 to 21%, and also talk about how a solo K could eliminate UBIT tax if you're self-employed using a non-recourse loan to buy real estate. So this was like a perfect fact pattern, and I thought it was just a perfect case study for our first self-directed IRA tip of the week. So there you go. I try to keep the videos to around 15 minutes, kind of respect people's time. Sometimes if the story or tip merits longer, I'll do it. But essentially, hopefully you pick some stuff up. Hopefully you now understand a little bit more about blocker corps and solo Ks and inherited and Roths and traditional rollover rules as well. So lot to unpack, but hopefully I did a decent job. And if you have further questions on it, give us a call, please, or chat us or email us. We have an amazing team of tax professionals that are always standing by to help. And if you want to reach out to me, you can email us at info@IRA Financial, say Ask Adam, or you can hit us up on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and the questions will find me. I promise. They do every day. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. This is the first in hopefully going to be a long series of weekly videos on the Self-Directed IRA tip or story of the week. Love to hear your feedback. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and have an amazing rest of your day. Ciao. Take care.